Welcome back to Without Shortcuts. Today we are talking about knife sharpening.
Keeping your knives nice and sharp is a really important thing to do. But something else that's really important to do is to reach down and hit that like button and maybe subscribe to the channel.
That's right. That'll ensure that your knives are nice and sharp.
You may not even have to sharpen your knives if you do that. They may just become sharp.
Right. There's a bunch of different ways that you can get your knives nice and sharp. There's all kinds of little handheld gadgets you can use. You can use an electric sharpener, or you can use a whetstone like we're going to show you here. Now, this is not our favorite method for sharpening a knife, and I'll show you exactly why. I have a really nice high quality chef's knife here that for its entire lifetime has been sharpened on an electric sharpener. And if you look down by the bolster, you can actually see how much of the blade has been eaten away by this electric sharpener. Now, it's sharp, but there's an awful lot of blade missing.
Now, almost everybody has one of these that came with their knife set or has fallen into their possession somewhere along the way. And this is a steel, and this is a great tool, but this is not for sharpening your knives. This is for honing your knives. So what that means is, when your knives start to get dull, on the edge, you start to get little pieces just at a microscopic level that come together and start kind of bending out. Now when you use the steel and your knife is relatively sharp, as you're pulling it down the steel, that's pushing those pieces back into line. So that's keeping it sharp. That's how you maintain it. But over time, those pieces start to get further and further out of line to where you can't hone them back into being sharp, which is when you need to sharpen them. So, like Brian said, today we're going to use a whetstone. Now, part of what we like about this is it's really consistent and gives you a wide range of things you can sharpen it. But we also like the fact that you can buy one of these on Amazon for about 30 bucks and it'll maintain all your knives, different lengths, different sizes, anything you need for a really, really long time. Mine gets used often and it's still in great shape, and I've had it for years. So let's get started on the actual sharpening. We're going to take our chef's knife. To get the right angle, we're going to start straight up, perpendicular to the stone. And then if you go about halfway down, that puts you at a 45-degree angle. And then you're going to go halfway again, that's going to put you at 22.5 degrees. Now most chef's knives or most kitchen knives are going to be sharpened to about a 20-degree angle. So you want to be just a smidge below that second halfway mark. Once you're below that mark and you have the right angle, you're going to start up the top of the stone. You're just going to pull your knife back, and as you pull it back, you want it to turn so that you get the curve at the end of the blade and everything stays at the same angle. You're going to pull it back, and then you're just going to repeat that motion going forward, and the knife will never leave the block. You're going to do this for about 6 minutes on each side. Once you've done that, if you feel your edge, be careful, don't cut yourself. You should be able to feel like one side is sharp and one side is not. And the reason for that is as you start putting the pieces back in line with each other, it's going to push that metal to one side. It's going to kind of start pushing that edge over to one side as you're grinding it on the stone. That's a good sign. That means you're getting it straightened out and you're getting all the grooves out of it and pushing all those teeth back into place. So once you've got a nice ball on that side, then you're going to turn over, same thing as far as the angle, and then it's just the same motion for the other side of the blade. Alright, and I've pushed that little bead just back over to the other side, just enough.
Now, what he's going to do next is flip the stone over. So most sharpening stones are going to have at least two sides to them. There's going to be a coarse side and there's going to be a fine side. So the coarse side you use first, that's going to take off the most material, which, I mean, it's a fairly small amount anyway, but that's going to move that burr back and forth that he was talking about the most. And then once you get that as good as you can on the coarse side, you flip it over to the fine side, and that's going to move that burr a smaller and smaller amount, and it's just going to refine your edge until you can get that as absolutely straight up and down as you can.
So I've got this switched. I'm down to my fine side. I'm going to switch back over to the other side that opposite from what I was just sharpening, and just start pushing that burr back to the other side. So I'm getting pretty close on this. You kind of want to check your edge as you're doing this. I'm just pushing my finger this way across the blade, so I'm not running it this way along a sharp blade. And I just want to make sure that it's consistent for the length of the blade and that I'm not getting any weird angles or something. And for now, it's coming in pretty nice. So I'm getting pretty close. I'm just going to switch it over and do the same thing on the other side. Check it. All right, I've still got just a little bit more of a burr going this direction, which means I need to lift it to this side. So I'm going to just a little more. All right, let me see. Yeah, that's pretty straight right there. So once you've got it pretty close, you don't have a noticeable burr on either side, then you just want to finish it. You can finish it a couple different ways. If you don't have a leather strop to do your very final product on, that's not a problem. You can just use the fine side of your stone, and you're only going to do the backwards motion for the finishing portion. And what you're doing here is anything that's left, all you're doing is pulling everything just right into the middle as much as you can, which means you just want to do this very delicately. So we're going to do 10 on each side, and then we're going to do 8 on each side, and then 6, and we're just going to count our way down. You don't have to put hardly any pressure. Ten on that side. I think 10 on that side. And then you're just going to work your way down, alternating sides, until you just get it just perfect and everything's super sharp. Now you can finish right there, and you're going to be pretty close. And then you can take your steel, and you're just going to do the same motion, because now your blade's sharp, like we talked about at the beginning. It's sharp, now it just needs to be honed, which is what this is for. Do 10 on that side, 10 on that side. And just doing that, you can end up with a really sharp blade. You'll be fine. But if you happen to have a strop, you can take that and you can do the same thing. Just 10 on each side and just pull it down. This is just a little bit softer material. So just like Brian said about switching the stone from coarse to fine, this is just super fine and just allows you to get that really nice edge right in the middle.
Basically what he's doing at this point, he's not taking any more material off of the blade. He's actually polishing the edge. So by polishing it, it's making it so that there's that much less friction as he's cutting through something with his knife.
And again, no pressure. All I'm doing is letting the knife rest on the strop and pulling it back. I'm not pushing down on it at all. Just count your way down. One last on each side. It's a beautiful thing. Man, I love having sharp knives. Just as a test. Yep. That'll do.
All right, so now you have got a super sharp knife. Now, there are 1,000 YouTube channels out there that are about specifically knife sharpening. There's a dozen, 24 different ways that you can do it on your own. This is the way that Doug does it. So hopefully you found that helpful. You know, Give us a comment down in the bottom. Let us know how it went for you. Tag us on Instagram. Hit us up on Twitter. And until next time, skip the shortcuts.
Thanks, guys. Actually, for doing that quickly, I got that pretty sharp.